We now take a look at the beginning of class doodle view, which as you can see here extends view. So this is a customized view that we're using for drawing purposes. And first we have a field, a static field, which is our touch tolerance. We use this to help determine if a given finger has moved far enough to justify performing additional drawing operations. And you could customize that value to be more or less precise based on your running of the app if you would like. Now we have a number of instance variables here. The bitmap that we create at line 31 is going to be used to draw the lines that the user is currently drawing with their fingers. At line 32 we have the canvas that will be used to draw onto that bitmap. Line 33 and 34 create a couple of paint variables, one that will be used to paint the bitmap onto the screen and one that will be used to paint lines onto the bitmap in the first place. And then we maintain two hash maps of integers to other objects. In the first case, integers to paths, and then in the second case, integers to points. And the integers are going to be unique IDs that represent the different fingers that are currently touching the screen, and this will help us to individually maintain paths for each individual finger that is being dragged. In our constructor, you can see that we receive two parameters, and these parameters are required in the constructor when you set attributes of your custom view in the layout file. So the attribute set, remember, is going to receive those attributes, and we'll simply be passing the context and the attributes onto the superclass constructor. Then we go ahead and configure our instance variables. The paint screen object is just a simple new paint object. The paint line object, we have some settings that we perform on it. We indicate that we would like to use anti-aliasing by setting it to true, and what this does is it smooths the lines that we display on the screen. We set the initial drawing color to black. We set the initial style for the line that's being drawn to paint.style.stroke, and the paint.style nested class actually has a couple of different constants, and these help you determine for any shape that you're drawing whether you're going to fill the shape, stroke the shape, or both fill and stroke the shape. And what that means basically is as follows. When you have a shape, let's say a rectangle, the stroke represents the line of the rectangle, the bounds of the rectangle. The fill represents what gets placed inside of that. So for a two-dimensional shape, you can actually specify the lines characteristics, which is the stroke, and the fill characteristics as well as independent values that are set with various set methods of the paint object that you're operating on. In this case, because we're only dealing with lines in this example, we only set the style to stroke. Had we been dealing with two-dimensional shapes, we might have set it to both stroke and fill so that we can control both the line style and the fill style. At line 50, we set the stroke width initially to 5. That's the line width. And we also set the stroke cap to round so that the ends of the lines that we draw are rounded, which just makes them look a little bit nicer on the screen. And then finally, we create our two hash map objects, the integers to paths, which are the ones that represent the lines for the individual fingers, and the integers to points, which are for each individual finger the new points that we will be dealing with. Now, when the view is first constructed and added to the view hierarchy, recall that the inherited method onSizeChanged will get called, and we've overridden that method to create the bitmap of the appropriate size based on the size of the device, really, because remember, the doodle view is going to occupy the entire screen. So we create a bitmap of the width and height of the layout, which is in this case the screen itself, and again it will be an ARGB format so that we can set alpha, red, green, and blue values on that bitmap for the things that we draw. Next, we create the canvas that uses that bitmap to draw, so the canvas draws onto the bitmap, and we tell the bitmap to erase itself in the color white, which clears the bitmap to get us started.